Hello, guys. Welcome to Daddy in the Don, and we've got a special this one because next week we get the England squad announcement. So we've got our very own special one to announce his 26-man squad as if he was England manager. So before we introduce him, just imagine yourself in a country where there's one idiot in charge of the country about to be replaced by another one that doesn't know what they're doing. It's not the Tory party. It's the England national football team. And the Liz Truss of football managers himself, here he is, Mr. Jordan Williams. How are we doing, Jordan?
I hope not. Jesus. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see, mate. I'm sure there'll be some people saying that by the end because I've got definitely a couple of big announcements to make. So
yeah, I'm thinking maybe Liz Truss was a bit too harsh. You're not that good, but that's well, you've had a bit of time, about 12 hours to think about it. Last minute decision. So obviously, just for anyone out there, this is not the team that we think is going to be on. Yeah, this is the team that Jordan would take if he was going to the World Cup. So it's not boring and saying, oh, we're just going to predict Southgate's pick, because it's very easy to predict who he's going to take. So what I'll do, Jordan, we'll just go through what formation you're going to play, just so that it makes a bit more sense with who you've taken, because obviously if we do all the players, everyone will be making noise. So if we go through, like, what formation are you planning to play at the World Cup now? Now that Southgate's been sacked and you've been instilled, what formation are you going to play, mate?
Well, with the options that I've got a couple of options. It would be a base 4-3-3. I still think that's the best formation for England anyway, regardless what Southgate's experimenting with. But it also, there's also an option for me to play 5 at the back, and sort of like a 3-4-3 in attack. And then obviously you've got like a sort of 5-2-3 on the defensive side of the game. So yeah, a couple of options, but that should give you a picture on why I've selected some of the players that I have, because I've definitely got a surplus in defenders, much like Southgate probably will, compared to some of the other positions.
Yeah, I was thinking it was meant to be an original one, not an actual Southgate one, but Southgate 2.0. So I just read off a couple of comments just before we start. So don't know who this is. Just waiting for Jordan to turn up, then we'll start as soon as he's on. And we've had a reply, Yorkshire time and Yorkshire tea. Oh, that could be a while, mate. So obviously going in, we'll start nice and easy. So we've got 26-man England squad. Go through your goalkeepers then. So if you want to just like rattle them off, brief explanation for why, and then we'll pick the bones out a bit afterwards.
I think the majority of people probably just say the same 3 that, in my opinion, these are going to be the 3 that go to the World Cup. Pickford, undisputed number 1. I don't think there's many arguments about that. He's proven himself time and time again in that England shirt and at major tournaments. So, he's one of the first names on the team sheet for me. I know he had a couple of ropey games, particularly that Germany game, but I would still take Nick Pope. He's he's very inexperienced in the England team. So, you can't expect him to fly out the gate. I don't think there's anything, he can only build on it and get better from there. So I think he's been a goalkeeper of one of the best defensive teams in the league. So yeah, again, sort of picks itself. I think the only one that some people may make an argument about, but that's only if they're just trying to be hipster and cool, and that's that it might be Henderson, but it's not. Ramsdale is the other obvious choice. And it would be for me in that order, Phil. I think it's Pickford first, then Pope, then Ramsdale. The only reason that I would say Pope over Ramsdale is just there's times this season, and there might not be the stats to back it up, but I think he's flapped at a couple of saves and he doesn't look as sure. And the big thing for me was the Hungary game. You might as well have had me in net for that game. He was useless. So I know I'm not judging Pope as harshly as I'm judging Ramsdale, but we've not really got much to go on. It's a small sample size. So, I wouldn't have a go at anyone who said they would take Ramsdale second, because I know Graham definitely would.
I think what it is, Pickford's been a bit of a target, hasn't he, over the last couple of campaigns, mostly because of the form with Everton. But if you just cut it back to like the bare bones and just say, like, for England, when was the last time he really let us down in an England shirt? And obviously, Gareth's going to pick him on that. We all know that. But then this season, he probably has been up there with all the goalies in the league this year in terms of, like, I think, was it the Liverpool game? He made about 9 saves or something. He tipped that Mo Salah one onto the post right at the end of the game. They were going to give a goal kick, and he was like demanding they give the corner to acknowledge his save. So it's like for pure stopping, I think it's like him and Nick Pope probably do stand out. But then again, is that because of the amount of shots they face at their clubs? I know Nick Pope's got a bit of a better defence there, but his previous clubs, and same with Ramsdale, he's had 2 relegations, so he's had a lot of shots against him. Now he's in a team where you're not under the cosh as much. So do you think that England form does carry over rather than the club form, just to keep Pickford in there at the number 1?
I think irrespective, it's just, I think he's so safe in that number 1 spot at the minute because he's been playing so well for Everton that it just reinforces it, really. I think regardless, he was going to be number 1, but the club form just bolsters that place that he's got. The one thing that I forgot to say as well, Phil, is in terms of distribution, I would say if I was to rank that, it would be Ramsdale 1, Pickford 2nd, Pope 3rd. Pope is crap with the ball at his feet. He can't really play a pass. Pickford is hit and miss, but Ramsdale is fantastic at distributing the ball. So I just wanted to get that in there because I don't want Graham or any other Arsenal or Ramsdale fans to think I was just trashing him when I picked him. So I had to just get that caveat in there.
Yeah, I find with Ramsdale, he's a better shot stopper than a keeper, if that makes sense. So, like he'll save the ball, but he won't always hold on to it. He might parry it out, and then you're facing another shot where with like Pickford, I think he's better at either catching the ball, punching it far enough away, or pushing it around the post, where Ramsdale, you are under pressure with him, but he is really good at sort of, if you want to do like the basketball, like the fast breaking plays. So he'll get the ball, he'll run out, he'll get it straight into a midfielder, and he can play a little bit on the ball. So you've got those 2 things, but you're happy with Pickford in there at number 1, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Safest houses. So we've got another comment, and there's this Mark Hill. Pickford number 1, sub Pope, reserves Ramsdale. So basically just echoing what you said there, mate. So again, I can't see too many people disapproving with the 3 there. Some people might say Henderson, but regardless of what he's done in the past, he's not playing well enough for me, and his behaviour as well. He just seems like he just wants to shout all the time and fight with the floor for some reason every time he lets in a goal. So we'll move on to defenders. And obviously, you're just going to rattle them through in order. As you're going through, because obviously I've got them all written down as well, just let me know which ones you're planning, because there's some that can play in both positions. Have you brought them as utility men, or have you played them specifically for wing-back or centre-back duties? So I'll let you rattle those ones off, mate.
I've written them down in priority order, like I've done for every position. I've put, well, not midfield, I made a bit of a mess of that, but every other position I've put in my priority in order. So first name in that defensive team sheet, regardless if Walker's fit, regardless if Reece James is fit, the way that Kieran Trippier has been playing this season, he has to be the first name on the team sheet in terms of defenders. I think he's been fantastic. Southgate loves him as well. I know this is obviously not what I'm predicting, but I think Southgate probably will feel the same way because he's liked him even when everyone forgot about him when he was in Atletico Madrid. He was still picking him on a regular basis. So, yeah, he offers everything that Southgate wants in that position. He can play the ball moving forward. He's a solid defender. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's disciplined. He's got the leadership quality and the experience. And, I think he's a possible candidate for vice captain at the World Cup if that's still open, but I'm pretty sure Pickford's already got that. So,
good set piece on him as well, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So that's an extra reason to take Trippier, and I think he's got to almost be a shoo-in to get into the team.
I think what you said about when he went to Atletico Madrid, a lot of people were thinking that was him going out there to retire, basically, wasn't it? We weren't expecting to see him come back, perhaps in the fashion he has played for Newcastle. So it's testament to him that he's actually proved he's still got it and he's back in the England fold.
Definitely. So then next in the list is John Stones. I just think for England he always plays well. He's a threat. He's an aerial threat going forward, which is just it's another string in his bow. He can play the ball well on the floor. He doesn't really get flustered. He's basically everything that Harry Maguire tries to be. He's that player that can play the ball. It doesn't get panicked, doesn't make stupid decisions. Obviously, he makes mistakes, but it's natural to be a centre half and make the odd mistake. But yeah, for me, he's a pretty solid addition to the defence, and I think like I said, second on my list.
Okay, so you got John Stones at centre back. Who's going to be his partner?
Now, this is a difficult one. It is a difficult one. I'm actually going to change my mind. Now I'm trying to picture I'm actually going to swap who I had third. So I am actually going to start Eric Dyer alongside him. I think he's been very consistent this season. He looks reformed, I think. I can remember it must have been after sort of 7 or 8 games. I was saying that I was really surprised how much he's come on this season because I didn't think I'd see him in an England shirt ever again. But the way that he's sort of brought his form back to the level that it's at now, he's playing himself back into the team. So, I would start him at the centre-half position alongside John Stones. I think it's a pairing that can both play the ball. You've got... Sorry, I don't know why I keep sounding. You've got someone who's right-footed and left-footed, which, one Marcelo Bielsa always wanted that in his defence. He wanted a player that could play, one side and then the other. I think that's a pretty solid defence. And it's maybe sort of unorthodox to what most people are sort of thinking. And particularly, this is definitely not what Southgate's going to do. I know that for a fact.
The only thing I would say with Dyer, he has got 40-odd England caps, but the vast majority of those were in centre mid, holding midfield. I think he's only got a handful of games at centre back for England. So I know he's played a lot for Tottenham at centre back, but is that something that would perhaps worry you that he hasn't played enough international centre back games, or do you think it won't make a difference because he plays for Spurs and it's at a high level in the Premier League?
I don't think it makes a difference, Phil. And another guy that I'm going to come on to in a second, Fikayo Tomori, he's a guy that's gotten hardly any experience or no experience in the England team at all anyway, and people are calling for him to start. So I don't see the problem. I think, if anything, Dyer's got a lot over him, the fact that he's actually started or played 40 times for England in the past.
Not sure what that's all about. I'm taking that as offensive, but it's not going to be anything good, is it? So anyway, you've got Trippier playing at right back. Is that he's going to start at right back?
Yeah, he's going to start right back, playing in his preferred position. I know he can deputise on the left hand side, but I would be saying he's played that well. He deserves to start where his favourite position is.
Okay, and then you got one more position across the back to fill, and then we go on to the subs.
So the left back for me is slightly strange because he's a fellow that a lot of people want to leave out, but it's similar to Pickford before this season. He plays well for England. I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad game for England, regardless where he's been in and out of that Manchester United team. But I think Luke Shaw should be the starting left back for England at the World Cup.
Has that decision been made since yesterday, or was you going to go with him regardless of Chilwell?
No, I had them both in actually at first. It was only afterwards that I decided to put Trent in because I wasn't going to have Trent. I was going to have Chilwell and Shaw, but obviously that's been swapped around. But no, I just think he's consistent, he's solid, and we've not really got... I know we've got guys that can play both sides, and I've heard a couple of shouts for people saying James Justin, just because he can cover on both sides, but I don't see the point in taking a risk on someone who's hardly got any experience, and I'm still not sure how good he is when you've got a left-back ready-made that's played for England plenty of times and has got the experience to play there at your disposal.
And just another one quickly before we go on to the subs. If Reece James was available, would he be starting right back, and would you have played Trippier at left back, or how would you have done that?
I think you would have to, because it would be a stronger team. Even though, like I said, I do think Trippier deserves to play there. But if he's going to be one of the more experienced players and the leadership qualities, he would have had no problems playing on that left-hand side. I'm absolutely certain of it. He would have just got on with the job.
And just before we go on to the subs, the Arsenal banter bus has arrived. Ramsdale, best goalie by far. Pickford is bang average. There you go. Already upset one person. So, obviously, right, that's 25% of the people watching. So, we've got Trippier right back, Stones and Dyer in the middle with Shaw at left back. So, just fill in the blanks. I think you've got another 5 players. I mean, you've got 9 defenders you brought. Yeah,
the only reason is I think a couple of them, if I really sat down, because I wrote this last night when I was going to bed, so I already had thought about it, because the funny thing was, yesterday afternoon, I actually watched a very long video picking apart the 55-man prospective team and saying, who would be good and who wouldn't be good. So it actually did benefit me because that was fresh on my mind. But I was a bit, I couldn't decide if I wanted one more midfielder, but then I was like, yeah, but the midfielders that we've got, there's one man that I would have had to put in if I'd have took another defender out, and I didn't want to do that. But like you said, Phil, Dyer can play midfield, so that's a positive. He might be, you've got a player that I'm taking as a defender that can play further up. But yeah, the rest of the players, in no particular order, are Ben White. So Graham, you can chill out now. Connor Cody, just because I think he has been so solid in that Everton defence. And yeah, people might say that Tarkowski's better. I disagree. I think Cody's a better player. And he gives you something that Stones and Dyer won't give you. He's not a ball-playing defender. He's a no-nonsense centre-half. So he's someone that if you're in a tight game, you're trying to see it out, you bring him on, and he gets the ball and he just hoofs it away. So it's something different. I've tried to think of that throughout the team, someone who can come on and give you something else that the starters maybe won't. So that's why I've got Cody in there. I've also got Trent, which is it's a toss-up, but maybe he can do better in the England team if we're playing a 5 at the back. I'm sure he will, because obviously there won't be as much pressure on him to defend. But I'm a firm believer that you should be judged on your current form within the last few months. It shouldn't be like if you're having a bad spell in a couple of weeks. He's been awful all season. So I kind of feel bad saying that he should get a call-up, because there probably are other players that deserve it more than him. But I still think that you should take an underperforming Trent Alexander-Arnold over some right-back that might be playing all right, because I still think an out-of-form Trent is better than most right-backs that we've got. Like James Tavernier, for example, you're not taking him to a World Cup. He can't defend either. So that's a waste of an argument. Trent's a better player than him, for example. So, yeah, I would stick with Trent.
There's the problem, because obviously, we'll go on to this page. Obviously, you've dropped Maguire, which a lot of people call for, but we know Southgate's not going to drop him. 100% he's not going to drop him. Do you think Southgate's going to start him?
He better not. I nearly swore. I nearly had to swear then. He better effing not, because it goes, because I can remember, right, when I was younger, it was obviously Sven, and then it was Capello, or Crapello as we all called him, and then it was the Roy Hodgson era, and every single one of those managers had one thing in common: they would stick to the same players at every tournament, in every friendly game. It would be like pulling teeth to get a player that deserves it from maybe a smaller team or one of the outside the top 4 to get into the teams. And then Southgate came in and he said, I'm not going to do that. And then he backed it up for the first couple of years. He was giving starts to people from other teams that you wouldn't expect. Like when Calvin Phillips got called up, that would have never happened under Roy Hodgson. That would have never happened under Capello. But then all of a sudden, in the last year or so, he's gone completely the opposite direction. He's picking players just because he knows they've played well for England in the past. Well, do you know someone else who played well for England in the past? Sir Geoff Hurst. Would you put him on the plane and take him to Qatar? Probably not. Probably not. So, yeah, that's why I would drop Maguire. I don't think he deserves it. I think his attitude is stunk this season. He's a captain of a football team and he's acting like a baby. So, no, I don't think he deserves to come at all. Do I think he'll start? You know what, Phil? He probably will. And it would not surprise me if he started.
Because what I'm looking at, I've looked a bit on sort of like their records for England, and obviously as much as a buffoon he's been like for the last like year or so at United, his actual England record isn't actually that bad. And when you're looking at like who else to say, obviously Tyrone Mings ain't there as well. Do you think he'll get a call up?
I think there's an outside chance, but he's got similar attitude problems. And there's a player that I'm going to come on to when we get onto the midfielders that I might actually mention first because it's so relevant to what we're talking about right now. But it seems like we've just got two factions in that England changing room at the minute. You've got the older guard that have got the experience in the leadership and are going to be disciplined and calm-headed. And then you've got some people like Maguire. You could make a case for Luke Shaw, but I don't really think he's that. That's happening again. But I don't really think he's like that. That are just reckless. And I think that only at this World Cup to prove something for themselves. They're not there to play as a team. And we've seen this story before. We saw it in the World Cup in South Africa. We saw it at the World Cup in Brazil. Players that are playing for themselves, and I think we need to get that out of the team right now. You need to take all of those problem players out because they're not going to contribute in the correct way. You saw Maguire against Germany trying to play hero. He gives away a penalty. And
I think that's what you're saying about the attitude. Like for the experienced players, you're looking at someone like your Trippier, your Stones. You don't hear bad things about them, do you? You don't see bad body language from them. So, I think what you've gone there are some players that maybe could have had a nod further down, the 7th, 8th, 9th men, but you've made your case for those. We'll get through the comments because there's quite a few stacking up. So, who did we get first? So, Pony. I think that's in terms of the goalie situation. He's gone as well with the Don here. So, he's gone Tomori, White. So, Tomori or White, I think that is, alongside Stones. The only thing with Ben White, he's been playing right back a lot for his club, hasn't he? So do you play him at centre back or do you keep him? Are you taking him as a utility man, by the way, or are you taking him just as a centre back?
No, I was taking him as a utility man. Can't see him getting many minutes. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even know if he'll get called up, but it should be a shame. But he never got called up for the last round of friendlies, and I do think he deserves it.
Oh, there's a sponsored comment here. This one has to go up. Look, afternoon fantasy top 2, leaving me behind now. Obviously, I was going to do this myself, but I was banned because I'm running away by a landslide victory in the fantasy by a whopping amount of points over Jordan. After
1 point.
What's it? 12 points. 12 weeks you've been at the top 4 now.
11.
Oh, so we've got a new sheriff in town. So I've got to step back now from romping it. Let Jordan have a turn. Yeah. So he's done another comment as well. So he said, "I think we should take Jesse Marsh as a cheerleader." And we've got Gary Richards. Hi, Gary. So, tally ho. Ivan Toney and James Maddison should go. We'll go on to those positions soon. The Don laughing at Jesse March. He said, at least Maguire isn't there. Again, Gary Richards. Southgate's too defensive. Maguire is shite. And this is the best group of young players England's had in 30 years. Quite possibly. You're right there, Gary. I think we did have the golden generation, but that was restricted to literally just like 13 players, really, wasn't it? We've got quite a lot of depth in all the positions here, I think, especially when you get on to sort of like striker. Obviously, if you've got one stand-up player, but you've got quite a lot of deputies in there as well. So, on that note, we'll jump onto your midfield. So, did you want to start on the debate one, or do you want to go through in order?
I'll go through in order, and when I've done the starters, then I'll light the fireworks up someone's arse. But yeah, the starting 3 in midfield for me, I've not put this in order for some reason, but it would be Bellingham because I mean he's just unbelievable, wonder kid, young age. He's got a lot to prove. He's also willing to play as a member of a team. It's not all about himself. He's recently just, become captain of the Dortmund side, which is a remarkable achievement for a player that young.
I was quite surprised for that as well.
He's clearly got the leadership abilities, and a club like Dortmund don't just make anybody the captain of the team. So I think it's a testament to his character. So yeah, for me, he's potentially already. This is a scary prospect that he could potentially already be England's best midfielder. It's up for debate, but he's definitely up there. And alongside him, I would start. This is a tricky one. Well, I'll say just sitting in behind them would be Declan Rice. I think he's got to be one of the first names on the sheet. Again, he's just so consistent. He mops up whenever someone makes a mistake. He's there to clean up and get it out of there. He can play a good long ball. He's got a shot on him. He's got a lot of things in his bag that he can offer to the team as well. So, again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory why he needs to go. And alongside them both, just because I think he had something a little bit different, originally I was thinking bench, but I think I would start James Ward-Prowse. Maybe not for the entire tournament, but at least in the first game. Just because I think he can offer something a little bit different to some of the other players. He's not as attacking as some of the other names I've got on the list as well. So but again, that's up for debate. Really, I think it's wide open who gets that third start for England in midfield.
So you playing Rice behind the two, or are you playing the 2 and the 1?
I would play Rice behind the two of them, and then have two a bit further forward.
Okay, and then so obviously that will leave for your formation. You're just going to have one either side of a striker, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So no one in behind.
Yeah, actually, in that case, I think it would have to. Yeah, I think I've put him as a forward, but you can easily say as a midfielder, Foden would have to get the other start, and he would play further up in an attacking role. Bellingham can, in my mind, Phil, I've just got them sort of playing like Rice here. Then you've got not Ward-Prowse. You've got Rice there, Bellingham there, and then Foden just a little bit further up, and then obviously your attacks on top of those. I think going forward that would be a more sensible formation. And then
okay, so for formation purposes, you've got Bellingham and Rice together in the middle with Rice holding, Bellingham box to box, and Foden playing behind the striker.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So we've got. Well, you stuck Foden in the attackers earlier, but so he's moved into midfielders now, yeah?
He's into midfield.
Right, we'll make that amendment. So do you want to just run through the rest of your midfielders and then we'll get on to the exclusions?
Yeah, so the other midfielders are Jack Grealish. Again, the reason I've picked him, I know people have been critical of him this season, but he's another player similar to like what I said with Connor Cody that can offer something different coming off the bench. You're not just going to get the same, but with a different player. He offers more sort of dynamic. He's got a bit of pace about him. So if you bring him on late in a game, tired legs, he can exploit it. And you know, we know he's a fantastic dribbler of the ball as well, so he can keep cutting inside. So I think that's a pretty logical inclusion.
And you're keeping him as a midfielder, not a winger.
No,
he plays for Man City, staying in the middle.
I'll keep him as a midfielder just because otherwise it's going to look a bit strange when I've written it down.
Okay.
So yeah, Grealish. The other selection is not Declan Rice for a second time, like I accidentally put in. Everyone in the comments, it is James Maddison, so everyone can chill out. I've taken James Maddison. He's an arrogant little prick. I don't particularly like him, but he's a fantastic football player, and that's all that matters for this team selection.
Can you believe with Maddison, he's played one game for England, that was in 2019.
He's been unlucky though, because every time he's had a chance, he's either been injured
or done something stupid.
Or done something stupid. So it's kind of been a bit unfortunate and also picked up more starts. But the way he's playing in a pretty shite-looking Leicester team, he definitely deserves a call-up. And then the last player, well, the second to last player, actually, is Calvin Phillips. And the only reason I'm taking Calvin Phillips is because I was searching. I don't give a shit about him now. He's abandoned us. But I was searching for ages about who else can I play in that holding mid role. And it was so difficult to make a case for anyone else because I thought he's gelled in with the team already. He can play the role that Rice is going to play. He's deputising that. He should be back from injury by the time the World Cup rolls around, according to what I've read yesterday. So, yeah, I would take him, but I don't think it's a strong selection, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does get left out, whether it's due to injury or whatever. So, yeah, Phil, shall I come on to the last selection now? Or do you want to do the exclusions first?
Do your last. You got one more player to go in. It's going to cause uproar, and then we'll get on with all this mountain of comments we've got to get through. Is this still the people direct messaging you?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I set my alarm so I could make sure I was on for the laptop, and I kept forgetting to turn it off. I didn't know what it was. Right. So there is method behind the madness. Because, in my opinion, they're all the midfielders that are going to get on the pitch at the World Cup. No one else will. No one else needs to. That's your group. So I thought, who can we bring? Because I still think it's a fairly young team. There's not that many leaders in the team. So who can be the leader of that midfield? Because there isn't really one. Rice, maybe, still a bit young, still a bit inexperienced in that England team. We need a midfield presence that can be a leader. I don't need him to play. I just need him to educate and experience. We've got 26 players. We only need 23 end of the day. And the player is Jordan Henderson. Mark Hill, you are absolutely correct. It is Henderson. The experience matters. Gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, it will make a massive difference. And considering we've got 26 players in this team, that's going to be one extra defender, midfielder, forward. you can almost put your house on those players not even getting on the pitch or maybe playing 2 minutes. So realistically, I don't think it really matters too much who you would take instead of Henderson. He's not someone I'm saying should be on the pitch. It's just purely for the fact that there's no leadership in that midfield camp, and I think it would benefit the team overall if they do that.
Right. Let's rattle through these comments because there's going to be shitloads now. So, what about Chalobah?
Oh, don't get me started on him.
Long shot. No, mate. No. He's okay, but I'm not convinced yet. Yep. No, we're not going there. Waiting for the forwards. You want Eddie to go? Graham does. Best midfielder now or of all time? That's in regards to Bellingham, I think. So obviously it's now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like Mitrovic, Mark. So Gary has gone 3-man midfield: Maddison, Rice, Bellingham. Not too dissimilar to what you said there. He's gone Jude and Rice, surely, which is what you've gone for. Oh no. Sneaky feeling Maddison won't get picked. This is the early edition of When Graham Was Wrong. Regular on our WhatsApp group, but first time on this show because Southgate is a melt. All right, I thought you was talking about our pick, Graham, but you're on about Southgate's. So remember his boys Sterling and Mount have to start. Well, Mount hasn't even got on a plane. Not on Jordan's plane anyway. Okay, Richards, what formation? Obviously, we covered that. And they will be on the plane for sure. That's his boys. Going to say Henderson. I agree with George, to be fair. How many strikers go? I think you've got about 6, haven't you? 7. Well,
not out without strikers. I've got 3. I've got 3 strikers
and some wingers. You had 7, including Foden, but you've moved him to midfielder now.
Yeah, moving to midfield. Yeah.
Right, 1 striker. The others ain't going to play. Correct. Where Graham is always wrong. Well put, Phil. Yeah, always wrong. I've left that bit out of the title. Right, that's us all caught up. Now, you've left out Mason Mount. It's going to upset a few people. Do you want to just go in there briefly with what's happened with that exclusion?
There's 3 words that explain why I've left Mason Mount out, and those 3 words are he is shit. I'm probably biased, but I don't understand what else he offers that midfield than what we've got. He's very similar in the way he plays, or the way he should play naturally, the way he played when he was younger, to Ward Prowse. Ward Prowse is a better player than him, so why would you take Mount? Who else? Maddison. He offers more going forward than Mount. Why would you take him? Bellingham, he offers more all around the pitch, and he's a far superior player. Why would you take him? Grealish, again, far better in attack. Mount's not going to be a defensive midfielder, so why do you need to take him? And again, that's the same thing with Phillips. And even to argue the Henderson point, because I'm going with the narrative that we need the leadership, Mount's not got the leadership. That's why I've taken every single player that I have over Mason Mount.
Okay, I've got some stats on Mason Mount. I did look it up earlier, just in preparation. So he's played for England 32 times. Scored 5 goals. Started 22 games. He's been pulled off 15 times. That's substituted, not anything else you're thinking of. So he's actually only played the full 90 7 times. I found that quite surreal because you think like he's normally considered the main guy in that midfield, isn't he? And well, to say that he's only, well, not for you, but just in terms of when England are playing, you never see no Mason Mount, do you? It's always Mason Mount orientated, sort of like one of the poster boys. So to only have played 7 full games in like, what is it, 3.5 years he's been playing for England now? So I found that quite strange. But then again, it's not much of an exclusion if that's all he's bringing to the party is 7 90-minute games. So,
well, the thing is, Phil, I would also say that that's usually a sign that he doesn't fit the overall game plan of the England team. Because if he did, you could leave him on. But clearly Southgate, because he's not a man manager, so he doesn't change much in game. So clearly he either doesn't fit the system or Southgate thinks there's someone else that he trusts more later on in games, which if that's the case, then, you know, what are you doing? Maybe you need to give up on him, but he's got some sort of bromance with Mason Mount. I don't get it.
Well, I think if Graham's still watching, he'll back me up on this one because this is his opinion. I'm just repopulating it, recirculating it. So Norwich aren't at the World Cup for us to play, so Mason Mount's not going to score any goals. So that's probably why you've left him out, isn't it, George? That's a Don. That's not my statement. That's a Don statement. Before anyone hates on me. So the Don, I was not wrong. I was talking about Southgate. This isn't Southgate's team, Graham. This is Geordie's team. Get it right. I'm always right. Mount has Southgate's nudes. Only reason why he goes. I think there's quite a lot of people that have got nudes, according to Graham's accusation. I'd leave Mount at the chip shop. There is actually a Mount Calf just outside my window there, so maybe we'll leave him there. There we go. Run around headless 32 times in 32 games, Mason Mount. Stop hating on Mason Mount. He will start and make an impact, lads. Right, let's highlight that. Phillips ain't going. Spot on Phil 100%. That was the Norwich thing. Interesting. Graham been slagging him off. Cheers for sharing. Oh dear. Opened up a can of worms there. So, right. We've got the midfield sorted. So, just to run through. So, we can start with Pickford, Trips on the right, Stones and Eric Dyer in the middle with Luke Shaw on the left. And then you've got a midfield of Bellingham, Rice and Phil Foden in front of them. So, now we're going to go into striker. So, you're playing 2 wingers and a centre forward, I presume?
Yep.
All right. Let's leave you to it. You can tell me. I'm guessing who the centre forward is. You can just fill in the wingers after.
It is Patrick Bamford. No, I'm joking. It's obviously not Patrick Bamford. The centre forward is the first name on the team sheet, the England captain, Harry Kane. Got to be ever reliable. I know a lot of people have been frustrated with him. I've been a massive Harry Kane fan for a number of years now. So, I'm delighted that he's an England player and he's the captain of the team. So, yeah, first name on the team sheet for me. Now, the interesting thing is the reason I had Foden up front at first, Phil, is because I was going to play him on the left over Sterling. And I might still do that if I wanted to start Grealish or Maddison. Because the thing with Sterling is shite in front of goal and he doesn't know how to make the extra pass. He's too selfish. It's not like Kane, where Kane's more than happy to play the next ball. I think it hurts the team, really. And I think we noticed it particularly at the 2018 World Cup when he should have squared it to Kane. But anyway, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for the time being, and I will start Sterling on the left-hand side.
I found with Sterling, he's really good at just carving through players, and he gets into the penalty area, and he just he just gets caught in the headlights, doesn't he? He doesn't know what to do, whether to pass or shoot, and then he just attempts a really tame shot at the goalie, where just that little bit more convict. Did it when he was at Liverpool as well. Like, it's always been something I've associated with him. It's skinful players, and then he'll just miskick a ball or send a little p-roller in towards the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I know that's the same sort of problem with me, but obviously you've got the options to bring a certain player on that I'm going to come on to later that I think is going to be the England X factor at the World Cup. But anyway, and then on the right hand side, it would be Saka. I think he's looked fantastic in that England team the last few times I've seen him play there. Like I know Graham said Foden. Like I said, you can do the same thing. You can just take Sterling out and play Foden there. It's optional what you want to do. But I would stick with something that's battle tested and saying Sterling, Kane, Saka. I think that's pretty much picks itself, to be honest.
Yeah. So then, obviously, moving on to your bench. So, what have you got? Another 3 to go? Is it?
Yeah, I've got another 3. I've got another 3 to go because I actually said Tammy Abraham, and I've changed my mind on that because I looked at his stats earlier. He's not actually had a great start to the season, so that factors in. He's not played for the team properly for a long time, and yes, this other fella that I know all the Brentford boys will be buzzing about hasn't played a single game, but he's battle ready he's ready for this England team. You won't find many players more motivated than Ivan Toney. He's so motivated to prove a point at this World Cup and to help the team. Besides of which, if we ever get to a penalty shootout, God forbid, he'd be the best penalty taker in the entire team, even better than Kane. So, that's another reason to take Tony. But the fact is, like I've said, throughout the team, he offers something else. He can hold the ball up. He's strong. He can finish in a variety of different ways. I like to think of him almost as sort of like a Harry Kane light. He's like a light version of Harry Kane because he offers very similar things, but Harry Kane's usually knackered after 70 minutes. So what can you do? You take him off, you put Tony on for the last 20 minutes, and it's just the same thing, except he's got a full bar of energy to run at players. So, yeah, I think Tony's a backup. He's sort of a deputy striker, if you like. And another fellow that I would take over Abraham, just because I think maybe it's just sort of me being compassionate for once. He's been very unlucky with injuries and the like. And when he's played for England in the past, I think he scored like 2 in 2 or something like that. Callum Wilson, I think he's been very hard done by with injuries. He's been fantastic for a great Newcastle side this season. And I know obviously they had Isak, who they signed, who's not really been fit yet, which, is just another curse of Newcastle. They've got 2 unfit strikers. But he's filled in really well, and he's fighting for his place in that team just to sort of let Eddie Howe know when Isak's fit, I'm not just going to disappear. I'm still going to be fighting for my place. And I think that's the attitude that you need in the England team. I've definitely put an emphasis on the attitude being a key priority in the team. So that's another reason I think I would take Wilson. So that's the 3 strikers that I'm going with.
He scored everywhere he's played, hasn't he, old Wilson? So you can't sort of knock him to that extent. Even at Bournemouth, didn't they bring Jermaine Defoe in when he got injured? And then he's always had that problem of someone else being brought in, losing his place, and then scoring the goals and getting his place back. So it's battle hardened, I suppose. And then obviously, so just mopping up. So you picked Tammy Abraham. You've now dropped him. You've now brought Ivan Toney in, and Marcus Rashford. Have you mentioned him?
Yeah, Marcus Rashford, I think he's the X factor of this England team. I really do believe that. He looks reformed this season. His attitudes looked a lot better. I mean, he didn't necessarily have a bad attitude. I just think there was a lot of different things that were going on with him. This injury that was ongoing last season, it's quite obvious this season that was quite clearly hampering his play for however long I'm not aware of. But he definitely looks better this season. And the key thing is its pace off the bench. The one thing you're going to get with Marcus Rashford is pure pace. And we're going to set up for counter-attacks. We know it's going to happen. We know that they're going to play defensive. So even if I'm pretending to be Southgate for a minute, it's another reason to take Rashford. It'll be the quickest player on the pitch in most games. So, he's got to go for me. I think bring him off the bench. If we're getting tired or we're sort of locked in a 0-0, put him on last 10 minutes, get him to absolutely sprint at the other team. And the composure's been there this season. He had a similar thing with Sterling, where it'd be head down and shoot. But this season, he's looked far more composed. He's getting his head up. He's looking where he wants to put the ball. And I think he deserves a chance again in this England team. So that completes the 26-man squad for me, Phil.
So would that be your tactic then? You're starting with Sterling on the left, Saka on the right, Kane up front. And if you're struggling to break someone down, you bring on Rashford and Ivan Toney and try and do a bit of a battering ram in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's a good game plan. And like I said, just to keep harping on, it's that concept of giving something different off the bench instead of just having clone players on the bench.
Anyone watching that ticker go through, we did preload this with Tammy Abraham, and George changed his mind halfway through, got scared of all the comments and put Ivan Toney.
It wasn't that. I'd somehow completely forgot about
private chat on here, just saying I'm going to get beaten up here. I bet change your mind.
No, I completely forgot about Tony. I don't know, because I was thinking who's actually played for England before, and I'd forgot about Tony because I obviously never played.
I put him in the thumbnail especially.
No.
Right,
I don't know.
Let's get through the comments. So, seriously, get Eric Dyer out of that team. But mind you're being random going back to players, G. Saka, Foden, and Kane. That's his front 3. Saka, Kane, and Grealish for me. There's something about Jack Grealish. I'm not sold on him. Like yesterday, Pep changed the team, and he just didn't seem interested. He got pulled off after about 60 minutes. It shows nothing. Whenever he's given a chance to play, it's like he's happy just getting his 10 games, his winners' medal, down in all the bevies. No Saka for me.
Oh, come on. Terrible, Christopher.
So Mitro for Mark. I'm going to try and put Harry Kane wig on or something to get in the England team. On fire, though. He's so frustrating. Sterling never looks up, for fuck's sake. Yeah, probably right there. Love Tony for his weight around. Throws his weight around. I think that's supposed to be. Haaland should join England team. Oh, he's born not far from you, wasn't he, George?
Yeah, born in Leeds, yeah.
Yeah. Kane is washed. Don't know about washed, but I find when he's not got anything around him, Kane will offer you absolutely nothing if he's just isolated. Where, you know, like say someone like a Tony, he can come, he's a little bit fresher, a little bit younger. Where Kane, you need a support system around him. He'll finish the goals, but he can't do it all on his own anymore, which I think before he could get the ball sort of like just outside the centre circle and drive at defences. Now he's literally just that finisher, or he's quite good at knocking the ball on, isn't he? He's quite good at like the flick-ons to Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison, etc. But then we don't play that same way in England, so it is hard for Kane to transition. But he is there just to score goals, remember. Oh, here we go. He's happy. His boy, his club's striker's in, Ivan. Sterling was great in the last World Cup. I remember, the last tournament as well. I was expecting him not to play that well, weren't we? Sterling was getting a lot of criticism. Pep dropped him, and then he came and scored a lot of goals, didn't he, in the Euros? He got swayed. As we said, shit his pants because he saw all the comments. Sterling, Tony, and Foden. So, a bit similar to what you've done, but you're playing obviously Foden behind and Tony to come on later if Kane needs a rest. Why the fuck is he playing for Norway? Well, because of his dad. So, Don Jones. Yep, here we go. His dad. Ain't coming home for Norway. Well, never know unless he starts banging in like 6 goals a game like he has been in the Premier League, then maybe it'll be coming home. But I think his dad needs to go and have another few siblings, get a couple of centre halves in there. But yeah, so right, we've gone through your team. We've got just notable exclusions. Obviously, we've done the defenders, we've done the midfielders. Just up front, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do you think he will go, even if he deserves not to go? Do you think Southgate will just take him because of?
If he takes him, it's a travesty because there's at least 4 strikers I can think of, including Kane, that are ahead of him in the pecking order. So unless we take 5 strikers, he should not be going at all. And the other thing for me with Calvert-Lewin is, what's he going to offer you that Kane or Tony doesn't? He's an aerial threat. He can't run with a ball. He needs a service into him. It's the exact same as Kane. So, I don't really see the point in bringing him on, even if...
With this one being like a mid-season and there not being much time before the games actually start, normally you get like a whole summer, a whole warm-up period. There's the players like the Michael Owens that have just popped in at the last minute and got the nod. Who was the other one? Theo Walcott as well. He got a nod, and Sven took a chance on him. So do you think, because it's obviously next week he's making the selection, do you think there's a chance for someone bags in a hat-trick this week, they just get a surprise inclusion? Or do you think he's literally set his 26 men in his head already?
It should be set, because if you're going to wait until, imagine Danny Welbeck scores an hat-trick for Brighton this weekend, and then he's like, oh, well, actually, yeah, we'll bring Danny. That is such an abhorrent way of picking a team. He should
obviously from his 55-man squad, he's not just going to wait for some bloody random player to just pop up. But I don't agree with a 55-man provisional squad, because if you're the 55th man selected, there's no way in hell you're getting a minute of action in Steven Gerrard.
Steven Gerrard must still. Welbeck is in that team. He's in that 55-man squad.
Yeah, probably at number 54 or 55. But is Lewis Dunk in there as well?
Yeah, Lewis Dunk's in there. Aaron Webster's in there as well.
Have we literally just got 55 English players that can potentially go to the World Cup? Is that why he's done it? Or where does the 55 come from?
They all do it, don't they? Like every team in Europe does it. So I don't know.
So he's got two squads and 3 reserves basically with that 55-man squad. That's madness. So what's he got? 7 keepers?
Yeah, something like that.
Madness. Right, here we go. Just a couple more comments. So, don't think Qatar like DCL sort needs to stick to the modelling. I think that's in relation to, didn't he do a bit of modelling where he was made into a woman or something like that? Yes, that was just a Photoshop thing. Tony can stretch defences with pace. Kane cannot. That was similar to what we were saying. I think that just depends how the game goes. And if you want to leave one man up top on their own, isolated, probably Tony is your guy. But obviously, if you want to play with two men off, Kane is your guy. Even Loftus fucking Cheese is there. Jesus Christ. There you go. Loftus Cheek. Well, he's been in squads before, and he is actually playing football now. So I'm guessing that's why he's been included. But yeah, so you don't see any hope for anyone changing his mind this weekend with a good performance?
I mean, the one player that I think he's probably considering and that I've left out and I've not really mentioned is probably Sancho, but I don't think he deserves it. So I think we've got too many options in there. He can maybe feel a bit unlucky not to be included, but I think it's the right decision not to take him. I think the options that I've provided today are better than what Sancho can offer.
Okay. And obviously, we've gone for your formation, we've gone for your team. Who is it we're playing first? Is it Iran or USA?
Iran.
The first game? Iran. So we're playing Iran. What's your managerial tactic? How are you going to manage? What sort of manager are you going to be? Are you going to be a Jesse March or are you going to be a Sven-Goran Eriksson? What sort of manager?
Against Iran, I'd be Marcelo Bielsa and just be like, look, we're going to score about 8 past these, so just go full out press until you're dead and just win 8-0.
Sitting on your little stool.
Yeah.
In your little bucket. So not going to do the Jesse March, not going to be up there DXing anyone, no?
A bit of that. Yeah, a bit of the Ali G Buyakasha.
As much as I laughed at them beating Liverpool, if I was Jurgen Klopp in that situation, I think I would have just laid him out. I wouldn't have been able to take it.
Oh, there's enough for Jurgen Klopp though, isn't there? Jesus.
It's one of those where if it's your manager, it's great. If it's the other manager, it's a travesty, isn't it? So where are the Leeds lads in this squad? That's Christopher McMahon. Where are they?
Well, they're not good enough. Let's be honest. The England players that we've got in the Leeds team are not good enough for England.
There was a lot of private chat around earlier that you were going to sneak Jack Harrison and Bamford in there somewhere in your hand luggage.
No, they don't deserve it. You know, I'm trying to do this without bias. And, yeah, they're not good enough to make this team.
All right, and where do you think that team's going to finish out? No, so before we do that, how much different do you think Gareth's team's going to be? So you're 26. How many of those 26 do you reckon he will take? Just give us a number roughly. You don't have to go through player for player.
Maybe 20. 20 to 22, I think. I don't think I'll be too far off. There's definitely a few maybe rogue picks that I've got.
Yeah, I don't think he'll take Madders myself, but Mount's definitely going to go, isn't he? Maguire's definitely going to go, so that's 2 straight away. So McMahon said Bamford if he was fit. But I think regardless if he was fit, he wasn't fit. He wasn't playing well before. He had that great first season, didn't he? Great first season, and then he's basically done nothing and been injured for the last season and a half. So I don't think even a fit Bamford, he would have had to score 10 goals in like 60% of the season to justify that like he did in the first year. But yeah, so and then how far do you reckon you're going with these boys then? Do you reckon you're going to quarterfinals at least?
Quarterfinals, Phil, it's coming out, mate. We're winning it. You might as well get behind him and start believing now because
I'm just going on your fantasy performance. You was about 85 points clear of me 4 weeks ago, and now you're in my wing mirrors. So I've got
about 1 point. I'm still coming. I'm still coming, baby. Believe it. But no,
there's a big rumour circulating that you're putting loads of early game players in this week just so you can get your lead back before 3 o'clock.
Rumours circulating, dude.
Yeah, I'll circulate. And after Don, he's been spreading them. So,
but no, I say get behind the boys. You know, if it all crashes and burns and Southgate makes a tit of it, then you know we'll come to that bridge when we cross it.
Yeah, I think we'll be up there. I think just let them play though. Don't hold back. Let them play. And then we won't be too far off. So, there we go. Getting out of the group. There you go. You'll be happy with that, wouldn't you, George?
No, we'll win every game in the group. No fear.
Do they have a Greggs in Qatar? They have a local Greggs?
Probably not.
Yeah, so might be a hard month for you. Anyway, on that note, we'll wrap that up before this just becomes a pastry-related topic. So, thanks for coming on, Jordan. I know it was short notice, and obviously you didn't get much time to prepare, but looks like you've done well. You've gone through and justified all your picks. A few people won't agree, but can't please anyone. And just before we wrap up, anyone who's watching, join Graham tomorrow. I think it's 7 o'clock that he's starting tomorrow, and that's going to be a preview to the weekend's games. I don't know if you're on that one, George. You had an invite? Yeah. All right. So we see George tomorrow, and Graham plus another 4 panelists, I believe. Is it a 6-man team he's got on there, or a 4-man team? 6 or 4, either way. The Don is live at 7. Don't miss him. Sure, it'd be interesting for the banter. So, thanks for your time, George. Do you want to just big yourself up where we can catch you quickly?
Yeah, thanks, man. You can find me on Twitter at Jordan_NBA. Cover all sorts of basketball content. I also do the basketball show for Munsey on Munsey Talks, the End of the Bench show, which is now available on Spotify. So it's just an hour long. If you want to catch up with all the latest NBA news, if that's your fancy, then go ahead. And you can also catch us live on every Wednesday night at 8:30.
I don't know who this Munsey Talks you're talking about. Is it anything to do with the Sports Capital by any chance?
Yeah, I know. I keep making a tip of that. But...
This is the Sports Capital, formerly Munsey Talks, formerly Fans Unleashed, formerly Cheggers Talks, formerly Darren. So any of those names, his name's Munsey. He's got loads of little names. Check him out. It's all good quality. Jordan hosts most of it, and
I only host one of it. I can't take the credit for that. I only host one. It's the best one. So.
I was going to say it's the best one, isn't it? It's most of it. But anyway, if you're out there, Munsey, sorry for all the names, but Sports Capital, check it out. It's a great show. All right, cheers, George. Catch you later, guys. Thanks for all your comments, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.